Welcome to our channel United Coaching. Today we will discuss questions in science and technology. Our question is, which of the following components is used for amplification? So is it transformer or diode or capacitor or transistor? So answer is transistor. A transistor is a semiconductor device used to amplify or switch electronic signals and electrical power. A transistor acts as an amplifier by raising the strength of a weak signal. Our next question is, the largest herbarium of India is located in. So is it in Kolkata, Lucknow, Mumbai or Coimbatore? So answer is Kolkata. The Central National Herbarium, popularly known as Calcutta Herbarium, is one of the oldest and largest herbaria in India, and it has holdings of about 20 lakh plant specimens collected from different geographical regions of India and abroad. Our next question is, in which of the following options the heat is transmitted through the movement of the fluid molecules? So is it in conduction, convection, radiation or both conduction and convection? So answer is convection. Convection is the heat transfer due to the bulk movement of the molecules within fluids such as gases and liquids including molten rocks. Example would be the air above a hot surface expands, becomes less dense and rises. Space heater is also a classic convection example. As the space heater heats the air surrounding it near the floor, the air will increase in temperature, expand and rise to the top of the room, and this forces down the colder air, the cooler air, so that it also becomes heated through the heater, and thus this creates a convection current inside the room. So the answer is convection. Our next question is, heat is transmitted through direct contact in. So is it in conduction, convection, radiation or both conduction and convection? So answer is conduction. Heat is transmitted through a direct contact, not because of the movement of the fluid molecules, but through a direct contact with the heat. So this would be conduction. Like for example, if you place your hand against the window pane, window glass, that the heat from the sun will move towards your hand and you will feel hot, and this is because of the direct contact with the window glass. So this direct contact is known as conduction of heat. Another example would be if you place a metal into an open flame, the thermal energy will flow from the flame towards your hand. So this is because of the direct contact of the metal towards with the flame and with your hand. So this direct contact is known as conduction. Our next question is, energy travels from sun to earth through. So is it with conduction or convection or radiation or modulation? So answer is radiation. Now it cannot be conduction because there is no direct contact with sun, and it cannot be convection because the space is empty, so there is no bulk movement of molecules of fluid in the space. And modulation is related to electronics and telecommunication, which we will shortly study. So the option over here is radiation. Now radiation is the emission or transmission of energy in the form of waves or particles through space or through material medium. Example would be electromagnetic radiation, and these waves carry the energy away from emitting objects, which is the sun, and radiation can also travel through vacuum. So the answer over here, the energy travels from sun to earth through radiation. Our next question is, the process of varying one or more properties of the carrier signal is called. So is it conduction, convection, radiation or modulation? So answer is modulation. In electronics and telecommunications, modulation is the process where one of the properties like amplitude, phase or the frequency of the carrier wave is altered. And there are three basic types of modulation, that is amplitude modulation, frequency modulation or phase modulation. So the process of varying the property of a signal is modulation. Our next question is, infantile paralysis is caused by. So first of all, we should know what is infantile paralysis. Infantile paralysis is the other name of polio or poliomyelitis. So is it caused by bacteria, virus, fungus or protozoa? So answer is a virus. Poliomyelitis, or often called as polio or infantile paralysis, is an infectious disease caused by the polio virus, and humans are the only natural host for polio virus. The virus enters the mouth and multiplies in lymphoid tissues, and most people with polio illness who were paralyzed were able to recover completely, but very few people were disabled for life. And even though one can recover completely from polio symptoms, still polio leaves behind some damage. So it is very necessary to get vaccination early in the childhood, so that the person can develop immunity against the virus beforehand. So the answer over here is infantile paralysis is caused by virus, that is polio virus. Our next question is, which country has the largest single aperture radio telescope, that is known as FAST? So is it Japan, China, USA or Russia? So answer is China. The 500 meter aperture spherical radio telescope, the short form is FAST, is a radio telescope located in the Daodang depression, which is a natural basin in Pingtang County in Guizhou province in southwest China. So answer over here is China has the largest single aperture radio telescope, that is FAST. Our next question is, the purest form of coal is? So is it anthracite, lamp black or graphite or wood charcoal? So answer is anthracite. Anthracite is the purest form of coal, and it has the highest carbon count and energy content and fewest impurities. Our next question is, the color of the ocean appears to be blue because of the sunlight falling on it is it because it is reflected or refracted or diffracted or scattered? So answer is scattered. The reason is same as why the sky appears blue. So why the ocean appears blue is the same reason as the sky appears blue, and the answer is scattering, because of the scattering. Now the ocean appears blue because the water tends to scatter the shorter wavelength, that is the blue light, to greater extent than the longer wavelength, that is the red light. So that's why the blue is visible more, and this is the same reason why the sky also appears blue, because the blue light from the sun is scattered more than the other colors. So that's why blue appears more as compared to the other colors. So answer is because of the scattering. Our next question is, day and night are equal at? So is it at prime meridian or poles or Antarctic or equator? So answer is equator. Equator divides the earth into two equal parts, and equator also equalizes day and night on the earth or in the sky above the equator line. So since the equator stays in same place relative to the sun, the level of sunlight received throughout the year is also nearly constant. So answer is day, and the answer for the question day and night are equal at is so answer would be equator. Our next question is, the metal ion present in vitamin B12 is? So is it nickel or cobalt or iron or zinc? So answer is cobalt. Vitamin B12 is also called cobalamin, and because it contains a metal ion, that is cobalt, and this makes it the largest or most complex vitamin of all, and it can only be synthesized by bacteria, and therefore it is mainly present in animal products. So the answer over here for the metal ion in B12 is cobalt, and therefore that is why it is also known as cobalamin. Our next question is, an enzyme produced by HIV that allows the integration of HIV DNA into the host cell's DNA is? So is it DNA gyrase or helicase or integrase or ligase? So answer is integrase. HIV is a retrovirus which comprises of a large and diverse family of RNA viruses that makes a DNA copy of their RNA genome after infecting the host cell. An essential step in the replication cycle of HIV-1 and other retroviruses is the integration of this viral DNA into the host DNA. And HIV-1 integrase cuts the DNA of the host cell at specific sites and integrates the HIV genome into the host DNA. So the answer is integrase is the enzyme that helps the integration of HIV DNA into the host cell's DNA. Our next question is, which among the following is the sweetest sugar? So is it maltose, lactose, fructose or glucose? So answer is fructose. Fructose is the sweetest of all naturally occurring carbohydrates, and this is the reason why it is used in most beverages and food products, and it is used in the form of high fructose corn syrup, and even our table sugar contains fructose. The sugar is basically sucrose, and sucrose is glucose plus fructose, and though fructose is the sweetest of all sugars, but based on clinical trials and animal studies, it is concluded that fructose is more damaging to health than glucose. Glucose is directly absorbed by our cells, but fructose is not absorbed by our cells. It goes to the liver, gets converted, and then it is used by our cells. So it basically increases the load on our liver. So that's why fructose and other fructose based products should be products which contain high fructose corn syrup should be consumed in limited amounts. So but anyways, the answer for this question, the sweetest of all sugars is fructose. Our next question is, the point where total mass of a body is supposed to be concentrated is known as. So is it the dead center, or center of mass, or center of gravity, or center of motion? So answer is center of mass. The center of mass is a point at which the whole mass of the body or system is imagined to be concentrated, and all the applied forces act at that point. So whenever there is a question about total mass, so the answer would be center of mass, and when it is about the weight, then it would be center of gravity. The mass of an object is the measure of the object's inertial property, or the amount of matter it contains, and weight is related to gravity. The weight is a vector quantity. The weight of an object is the measure of the force exerted on the object by the gravity, or the force needed to support it. So that's why when if the question is asked about the total mass of the body is concentrated at one point, then the answer would be center of mass, and if the total weight of the body is concentrated on one point on which the gravity acts, so then that would be center of gravity. Our next question is, where does the electrical charge resides in a charged conductor? So is it at the core, or throughout the body, or dependent upon the nature of the body, or outside the surface of the body? Like for example, the wire carrying the electrical charge, the electricity. So where does the electricity or the electrical charge reside? So is it in the core, or on throughout the body, or dependent upon the nature of the body, or outside the surface? So answer is outside the outer surface of the body. So the outer surface of the electrical wire will carry the electrical charge. So the net electrical charge of a conductor resides entirely on its surface. Our next question is, which part of the brain is also known as the little brain? So is it cerebrum, cerebellum, or thalamus, or hypothalamus? So answer is cerebellum. The little brain is cerebellum. Our next question is, muddy water is treated with alum in purification process. It is termed as. So is it coagulation, absorption, or adsorption, or emulsification? So answer is coagulation. The impurities stick to the alum, and because of which they become heavier and settle down, and this process is also known as loading. So the answer to this question is coagulation. Now absorption is when the impurities are absorbed inside the material, like in a sponge. When the liquid is absorbed by the sponge, so this will become absorption. Adsorption is when the impurities stick only to the surface, and emulsification is when two immiscible liquids like oil and water are mixed together. They form separate small droplets. They do not mix together. So this is emulsification. So the answer to this question is when the muddy water is treated with alum, the purification, the impurities settle down because of coagulation. Our next question is, the ash grey soils of high latitude coniferous forests are known as. So are they known as red and yellow soils, tundra soils, or podzols, or grey brown soils? So answer is podzols. Podzol is a complex soil formation process by which the dissolved organic matter and the ions of iron and aluminium are released through the weathering of various minerals, and the iron aluminium component causes its color to turn ash grey, and these soils are acidic and infertile and of a very limited value for agriculture. So the answer is, the ash grey soils are known as podzols. Our next question is, which one of the following weeds is effective in controlling water pollution caused by industrial effluents? So is it parthenium or elephant grass or water hyacinth or mogar grass? So answer is parthenium. Scientists have been taking great efforts in removing organic and inorganic pollutants from water with the help of various methods, and one of the method is using adsorbing agents. So the example would be parthenium plant, or the powder of the parthenium plant, or activated charcoal. Now adsorption is the process by which the impurities present in the wastewater adheres on the surface of the bioadsorbent. So and because of this it helps in removing the impurities. So the answer to this question is parthenium plant is used as the effective measure for controlling the pollution, the water pollution caused by industrial effluents. Our next question is, evergreen forests are found in, so are they found in tropical region, desert region, Mediterranean region, or equatorial region? So answer is, evergreen forests are found in equatorial region. And evergreen forest is a forest consisting of evergreen trees that retain green foliage all year round, and such forests are abundant in equatorial region. In equatorial region, the length of the day and night are equal, which is more compatible for the plant's growth. So the answer is, evergreen forests are found in equatorial region. Our next question is, addition of excessive amount of heat to a lake is referred to as, so is it heat bloom or refrigeration effect or greenhouse effect or thermal pollution? So answer is thermal pollution. Thermal pollution, sometimes called as thermal enrichment, is the degradation of water quality by any process that changes ambient water temperature. A common cause of thermal pollution is the use of water as a coolant by power plants and industrial manufacturers. So what happens is, when the water used as a coolant is returned back to the natural environment at a higher temperature, the sudden change in the temperature decreases oxygen supply and affects the ecosystem composition, and fish and other organisms adapted to a particular temperature range can be killed by an abrupt change in the water temperature. So either by a rapid increase or decrease in the temperature will affect the ambient water temperature, and this is known as thermal shock. So the fishes and other organisms are killed because of this thermal shock. So the addition of excess amount of heat to the lake is known as thermal pollution. Our next question is, sewage water is, so is it the wastewater released from kitchen, toilets, factories, or hospitals? So answer is kitchen. The wastewater released from kitchen or sink or shower or baths, etc., is known as sewage water. The sewage water is only the water waste. The water part of the waste from the sink, shower, bath, etc., is the sewage water. Our next question is, phosphorus is kept in water because, is it because its ignition temperature is very high or very low, or its critical temperature is high or low? So the answer is, ignition temperature is very low. So obviously when the ignition temperature is very low, the substance will catch fire even at the room temperature. So the phosphorus is kept in water because its ignition temperature is very low. The ignition temperature of a substance is the least temperature at which the substance starts combustion. So in this case, the phosphorus will catch fire even at the room temperature because its ignition temperature is very low. Now the critical temperature of a substance is can be defined as the highest temperature at which the substance can exist as a liquid. So critical temperature is totally different thing. Over here the topic is about the ignition temperature because of which the substance catches fire. So phosphorus is kept in water because its ignition temperature is very low. Our next question is, stars twinkle but planets do not twinkle. So this is because, so is it because planets emit light of a constant intensity, or planets distance from earth does not change with time, or planets are far away from earth, or planets are nearer to earth? So answer is, planets are nearer to earth. So stars are far away from earth and planets are nearer to earth, and because of which we receive greater amount of light from planets, and therefore the minor variations in the light intensity, which we call twinkle, are not noticeable when the light is coming from planets, but when it is coming from stars which are far away, so those minor variations are noticeable, because the light, the intensity of the light, the amount of the light received from stars is very less, and the intensity or the amount of light received from planets is more. So therefore the twinkle is not noticeable.